Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought for one of the current events videos I would do a social commentary. And it's one of these things that comes up when we're critical of a coach or an expert or a personality out there that a lot of their fans come in and they say silly things like, "How dare you question something that they said?" Right? And it's always interesting when people do that, and because they work under this bizarre assumption that even the best coaches in the world are always right. Well, here's a reality check. They aren't. And they oftentimes check themselves and admit they got stuff wrong. All the time. So, let me go ahead and put on my +5 hat of speechcraft and let's talk about this. Because this is one of the things that people need to remember. When we are dealing with things like coaching or you're dealing with something like exercise science, these are applied sciences. So when we're talking about something as ambiguous at times as athletic performance and muscle growth or powerlifting or coaching NFL players or anything in between, look at the margin for error there that can exist and people can still create world champions. It does happen. People get stuff wrong. And if you guys want an example, just look at something like the medical profession. We usually think of in our society, and I know not everyone's going to agree, we usually think of people like medical doctors as being some of the most foremost experts and highly educated people out there. And generally speaking, they do tend to be. I mean, realistically speaking, if we think in terms of the people with the most education regarding things of real importance to our day-to-day lives, medical doctors are way up there. And that's something that holds a very high degree of authority with most people, and reasonably so. I mean, it's reasonable when you think about the amount of training that they have to go through and the things that they have to learn through all their 8 years of medical school, then their internships and everything else. These are people who have enormous credentials. Do they get stuff wrong? Do they accidentally kill people with malpractice? Do they disagree with each other? Do actual medical doctors, who almost none of us are qualified to argue against, do they call each other out on getting stuff wrong? Do they call each other quacks? They call each other hacks, all these things, right? They do. They absolutely do. And you know what? They still get stuff wrong because we're dealing with the human body. So when it comes over to something that has even less data and information available, such as, again, strength and conditioning coaching, step back and look at that. I mean, what's your level of argument? Because if we're going to argue an advanced degree doesn't seem to be much of anything in strength and conditioning. I've seen guys who have a master's degree in exercise science who can't write a basic training program. And I'm just calling it like it is. They will write a program that couldn't even compete with starting strength for getting a novice strong, all right? They will write a program that's so bad sometimes that if you will take someone who, take a group of novice lifters and put them on that and the other group on strong lifts, the people on strong lifts will get better results. And as funny as that is to say, that's the reality of it. When it comes to actual applying exercise science in real athletes and real human beings, oftentimes even an advanced degree doesn't always equal good coaching ability. Like, it frequently doesn't. And I'm not saying there aren't people on the other extreme. There are people with PhDs in these fields who are phenomenal coaches. But what's also interesting to note is that some of the people who are the best coaches in the world have no degree in the field. And I mean, they literally are the best strength coaches on the face of the earth. There are plenty of those. So you've got to step back and look at this and say, okay, well, that doesn't carry a lot of weight. And I'm not saying it can't be helpful. I mean, if it's a useful bit of information. Someone who really has a good understanding of the human body and physiology and biochemistry and things, they do have an advantage potentially. But it still doesn't make them a good coach. And I mean, a perfect example, take someone who I really enjoy, the mad scientist Louis Simmons. Louis Simmons will stand right there and say, well, this method over here that we were doing, it did help produce 70 world record holders, but I don't think I got it quite right. So if you have someone like that who's willing to admit that, say, we tried that and it doesn't work as well as when I do this, but it's like, but you had people break 70, you had 70 world record breaking lifters doing the other method. What do you mean it's not right? Well, I found that it works a little better over time if I have my people do this instead. I found this works better and this doesn't work. But I still had people doing it who, were breaking world records. When you put things in that perspective, for anyone to assume that a coach always gets things right, when you have someone like that who produced record holder after record holder after record holder who continually updates his stuff and who comes back and says, the way that we do stuff at any given time is the best thing there is, and it's because if we found something better, we would change to that, and we frequently do. All right, that's the state of real cutting-edge strength and conditioning. When you have coaches who have that level of honesty of, well, if we found something that worked better in this instance, that's what we would do. That's why we know we're always the best, because we're always experimenting and updating and working with all the available material and always seeking to gain 0.25% advantage. We are always seeking to have the best methods possible based upon current human knowledge at any given time, and we are continually updating. And just because something helped 5 guys break a world record last year doesn't mean we can't have those same guys break a record this year with something better. Now, that doesn't always create confidence in any given set of systems, other than you can say, well, it did seem to work for, 70 world record holders, but they rotate something else in different and find that those world record holders break their own records. So did that strength coach, did he get some of that wrong? Well, in their own opinion, he did, because if they change it, it wasn't ideal. But, that changing can change based upon the individual. So when you look at those things from that perspective, what happens when you take someone like, I'd use Chris Duffin as an example, because that's a strength coach who I respect enough that I sent a member of my family over for him for meet prepping and everything else, because I'm not comfortable coaching my own family. And I may not be the best coach in the world for specific coaching to get someone ready for national and international level events in powerlifting. I feel like I need more coaching experience before I'm ready to coach a bunch of athletes to go to worlds, right? I think I need more experience before I coach people for that specific goal. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that point. I still have more to learn. I start doing that. So I sent a member of my family over to Chris Duffin. Right? Sent a member of my family to Chris Duffin because I trust his coaching. But it's a perfect example. Do I think he gets everything right? Is he above reproach? Can he get things wrong? Of course he can. Then again, he's someone who has a whole team of people because, again, the guy has enough experience and he's intelligent enough to realize he might be a great coach, top coach, one of the best in the world. I'll say that Chris is one of the best in the world. Again, enough so that I remember my family to him. That's how much I trust him. Does that mean he can't get stuff wrong? No, of course not. And he's got a whole team of people to help second guess stuff. He has a whole team to make sure, because that's part of what a good coach does. A good coach realizes there's a team effort involved sometimes. If you really want to train people to be the best of the best, you might want to have other experts there who can second guess stuff, who you can learn from, and who you can teach, and you can work as a coordinated effort. Because no one individual has it all right. The same thing came up in a thread I made the other day talking about Joe DeFranco, and someone said he's got great stuff, but he did a bunch of this stuff wrong. He's got stuff that he's promoted that we know now as evidence says doesn't even work, and it's BS. Right? It's BS. Yet he promoted it, so he doesn't get everything right. Of course not. He still had a bunch of people break records and stuff doing training under him to get through the NFL Combine, though. What does that mean? That means that Joe's one hell of a coach, right? That means that he's one hell of a coach. You can't argue with those results. Did he get stuff wrong? Did he promote things that we know based upon actual scientific evidence doesn't even work, where it's been checked and looked at? Of course. Because nobody gets everything right. No one gets everything right. You can still train world champions and get some things wrong. But that's the point we come to. We get over to even people like the Athlean-X fangirls, and they'll jump in and be like, how dare you question this or that Jeff does? Like, well, because Jeff's forte isn't strength coaching. And even he admits his physical therapy side sometimes makes him look at things differently than a lot of strength coaches would. Right? That's not always a good thing, because in certain cases it may be holding an athlete back because he has his own hang-ups from a physical therapy side. And that's one reason some people will say, right, not everyone, some people will say that a physical therapist and a strength coach are two different jobs, and maybe each athlete needs both. Like that a real top athlete might need both, and that they need to work together and they're going to be on a separate page. The problem is when you put both of those individuals in the same person, there can be conflicts in ideas and goals. And it can be a bad thing. And I would go so far as to say there are definitely times with what I see with what he puts out, that his physical therapy side might interfere with his ability to be the best strength coach that he could be for those people. And then when you say that, his fangirls, how dare you question him? It's like, really? Because the best coaches in the world, people who are way better than he's ever been? Because let's be realistic here. You guys really and truly think he's on the level of Chris Duffin or Louis Simmons or anyone like that, or Shako? Do you really think he's at their level as a strength coach? Because he's not even in the ballpark. He's not even in the same game. They get stuff wrong. They get stuff wrong. Joe DeFranco gets stuff wrong. So in what world is he above reproach? Or is any coach above reproach? Or the things shouldn't be questioned? Absolutely ludicrous. It's a ludicrous idea. That is an insane level of appeal to authority, particularly in a field that is so dynamic as strength and conditioning coaching. To literally say that you can't question the methodology of a coach based upon your own experience or own knowledge when you know that something they're promoting probably isn't a good idea, but they have their own hang-ups that makes them promote it, that's ludicrous. Everyone gets stuff wrong. I get stuff wrong. There have been times when I've had to correct myself. There have been times when I said, I promoted this and I realized maybe it wasn't so good. Maybe I was wrong. I was wrong about this exercise, or I thought it was useless, and I did find an application in which it could be highly beneficial to a specific type of athlete and a specific sort of weak point training. I was wrong. Because that's what happens. As we grow and learn in our knowledge, we oftentimes find out that we were not always as right as we thought we were at any given point, no matter how sure we were of ourselves. It's something to think about. Nobody's above reproach in this. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.